Hey guys, and welcome back to Yugioh Everything. My name is Pete, and today we're here for another episode review of Go Rush. This time it's episode 89, titled Two Galaxies. And wow, what an episode. I would say off the top, of course, this is not Dylan. This is Pete, as I said at the top. And Dylan wanted to do these episode reviews. He wants to bring them back more as a kind of weekly segment like he used to. But after his throat condition, after Jump Festa, where he might have overdid it a little bit, he asked me to do this, and I was gladly willing and able to. So you're stuck with me for this week, guys. But what an episode to talk about. And if I'm going to fill in at any time, this is the time to do it. This episode had some crazy kind of plot drops. There's theories we could spin off of this, and now, of course, coming off of the Jump Festa news that we are getting an extra year, a year 3 of this show. There are so many possibilities of where this can go. But let's jump into the episode itself. Episode 89 kicks off in you know, kind of the perspective of showing what Yuga and kind of the crew there in Ran and even Manabu were doing during the whole Kuaidul SpaceTime activation, which was going on. And Yuga, you know, being brained as he always is, that's why I love the man. You know, you might hate on him for his dueling skills, but you can't deny that he is a certified genius, and once again, he shows it here. So at the beginning, you see a little bit of that. You don't know what he's kind of constructing. Kaizo's there. He seems to be kind of, you know, toying with kind of, you know, turning him into something else, and we get what that is later in the episode. The duel, you know, of course, continues between Kuaidul and Yudias, backed by all of his friends and everyone that is trapped as a card kind of in the space-time. It's a pretty solid duel. I really actually love it. The music I want to give a huge shout out to in this. It's just fantastic. Kuaidul's theme for me is just top notch. And even Yudias in his kind of little hero triumph at the kind of 2/3 mark of the episode, I think really hits in the moment. Kind of the story of the duel really is kind of the Transimu Rhinox or Kuaidul's Prime Nova. You know, we see that come again. It's Kuaidul's ace. And every time those two monsters are on the field, it kind of activates something. You know, the title of this episode being the Two Galaxies. And we see visions of that. And then we get an actual kind of manifestation at the end of the episode. And every time something happens with those two particular aces, we have a reaction. And I thought that was really fascinating because it's Kuaidul has kind of set this entire thing in motion, as he's done for this entire arc. You could argue this entire show, right? He's the narrator of the entire Go Rush kind of saga up until this point. And we get some major kind of lore of what he's about, what is going on. And I guess we'll dig into Kuaidul a little bit. You know, we get a moment here in the middle of the duel. It's going back and forth. And he kind of goes from 3D, 3 dimensions, to 2 dimensions, which is something that we heard way back in kind of the cat episode with Yuga and Yuhi and Yumu, that was maybe a possibility of what was going on back in, I think it was in kind of the Ryugu Brothers arc. And we have that actually happen to Kuaidul. He loses, I believe it was his left arm, kind of goes 2-dimensional. It's a moment where the dual disc kind of drops to the ground symbolically, and it almost looks like, wait, you know, what's going on here? Is this duel going to end in no result? You know, is Kuaidul breaking down? What is happening here? And that is very much exactly what was happening. Kuaidul knew that he had some kind of limited time. He's known this for a long time in terms of his lifespan, and it was actually happening even sooner than he thought it would. And we get a little bit of flashbacks of him kind of in his spaceship pondering these moments, and he explains it to Yudias when, you know, it's a shot back to kind of the original relic way back, he says, from long ago. And he believed, he kind of convinced himself, kind of in, you know, a little bit of an ignorant, naive way, that he was eternal, right? The creator made him, kind of fused with him, and he believed he was eternal. But there was a moment that he saw something when he was in front of the relic after a certain amount of time, that he realized there was something within him. It was something that there was kind of the desire that the creator put there, that he realized his life was not eternal, that it would eventually come to an end. And it seems that the entire kind of setting in motion, even more than, at least personally, I already thought, is the creator, that desire, once he kind of fused with him and it kind of activated inside Kuaidul. That's why he's done all this. That's why he's obsessed with rush rules, because it's the obsession of the creator, of actually the maker of Kuaidul. He is the one that has set everything in motion, which is not entirely shocking. I just thought that he made Kuaidul is kind of what we had known already, and I thought it was more about Kuaidul than heard the words of the creator and he decided to check this Rush Duel thing out. No, it seems like there was maybe an uncontrollable desire within Kuaidul because of the creator's, kind of unsatisfied desire for Rush Duels to go after and set all of these things in motion. So I thought that was a particularly fascinating point. And he also, the other fascinating thing for Kuaidul in this episode is he has this fascination and it seems like almost disdain for the Odo family line. And, now that we know that he interfered with Phaser way back in his arc, and we know that Phaser always was saying he had this, kind of like hatred towards the Odos, we now know that was really through Kuaidul, through his words. Maybe it's even, if we want to go, kind of outside the box, maybe it's really the creator's actually feelings. Now, I won't say fully that right now because we don't know all of kind of the pieces that are going into place here, but at least at the moment, that is Kuaidul's feelings. And we get back to the numbers, and Yudias and the crew were talking about that. We've had these 2 galaxies. We have these 4 nines, 2 galaxies. What do these mean? It kind of awakened Yudias' mind, where he broke out of actually what the space-time actually looked like a few episodes ago. But what does that mean? And they're still theorizing what that is. And even Yugioh chimes in. He's like, well, I was kind of broken out of it because I saw the giant 40 number in the sky, kind of connected it to, there's 40 cards in a deck, and that's how I was able to break out of the space-time. So these 2 elements have been happening, and all the while, Kuaidul, he's having these flashbacks we're seeing as the audience to him in the spaceship, where he hates the Odo name. He's kind of just saying it with this just nasty tone of it. And the 4 nines, they kind of theorize there that, I think it was Mr. Chizaki, that it seems like it might be the Odo family crest way back in the day, which he kind of distinctly says they don't really understand the meaning of why that family crest is the way it is, and they kind of form a little funny shape, some of the characters there. And the nines, the family crest, also looks like a galaxy. So there's this interesting connection there that's going on, and we still do not have all the pieces of what this means, but there is a deep connection between the Odos, between Kuaidul, between this galaxies element, and possibly, I would think, I don't think it's crazy to say, to the creator, right? We know that the creator is the Earth Damar of Otis, who seemingly had a hatred toward Yuga, who was an Odo. So there is something building there, and now that we have an entire another year, I'm very fascinated to see where we go with this story. Speaking of Yuga, not only is the man saving the day as he always is, we learn in this episode that part of the reason, and really the reason, that Yudias and Yugioh break out of the original space-time, right? They realize what is going on in Kuaidul's space-time, is because Yuga has been sending messages into the space-time that has kind of been saving, ultimately, our protagonists here, our heroes, all the characters that we know and love. And he was able to do that because he anticipated what was going on and before the space-time was able to take place with Kuaidul, and he actually morphed Kaizo with all his invention skills into a helmet that was not able to save his body. His body was still frozen. He actually, he described it, Kaizo was like, oh, it was all of time frozen, and Yuga goes, no, it's just our minds are so sped up that it feels like that. So his mind was still workable because he was protected by this new helmet that he made out of Kaizo. And what was that helmet? It was actually the Mr. Goha helmet. It looked exactly the same from the Sevens show, the Sevens universe, which of course this is all of the Sevens universe, which I thought was a very interesting element that we could definitely theorize maybe in the coming podcast, or you guys could talk about it with me in the comments below. What does that mean? Where are we going with that? The timeline is getting wonky as heck here. I just have so many thoughts swirling in my head, so I will leave that element there, but I had to mention that as part of the review because it's a huge part for me of the episode. And of course the crew, cutting back to it, they all thank Yuga, they're appreciative of it. There's some jokes in there about how Yuga's a human, but he never actually really tells us the full story, and he goes, haha, I get that a lot. I thought that was a little funny line, because that seems to constantly happen with Yuga, whether he disappears or he doesn't explain the situation was going on. But you cannot deny that he is one of the major parts of kind of saving our bacon here in this arc so far against Kuaidul, which, yes, I think many of us could agree the arc itself has not been fantastic, but this was a fantastic episode. So as the episode goes on, kind of you get both of the kind of the Transimu, Rainik and Prime Nova onto the field. They're going back and forth. Kuaidul does a little kind of bait and switch there where you think he's done. They powered up Trizamoranic. They did a, kind of a nice fusion with Yugioh as ace. It's this awesome new creation, new monster. We think we're going to, we powered him up over, Kuaidul's ace. We think it's over, or at least we're in good shape. And he kind of pulled a bait and switch, and he did a little quick kind of face down card, is able to save his Prime Nova. It's not destroyed in battle. He does take the damage of 900 directly, but he's also able to deal 1,000 back to Yudias and Co, and it hurts even worse than the last shot that they took. So right now, Yudias, I think, is about 1,600, if I remember correctly, and if I don't, you could correct me down below. And I believe right now Kuaidul is at 3,100. The moment, though, I did want to focus on before I get out of here is when kind of the 3D, 2D element happens with Kuaidul. I thought that was an important moment because not only he's talking about the Odo, right? He's cursing it. We're all wondering his characters, Yudias, everybody. But I thought the reaction to it after Kuaidul's kind of explanation of the situation, I thought was very fascinating, right? Because a lot of them, all of them, I would say, are pretty much sympathetic to Kuaidul's situation, right? It's almost like they're not redeeming him, but they are sympathetic to what is kind of an unfortunate situation of him dying before them. But Yumu is the most kind of forgiving. She says deep down she can't really hate him, even as much as I would imagine she would want to. Yuhi, he's more kind of brazen about the situation and all the pain that Kuaidul has caused. Asaka, she's another one that is kind of against the situation as well. And I thought Yudias kind of in character, but not normally like him. He, for one part, he encourages Kuaidul to continue. And I think it's one, because of all the pain he's caused, he doesn't want it to end like this, right? Where he just kind of perishes in front of them. But it's also, two, I think it's, for me, I at least took it as it was an honor thing among Valgyrians that kind of the fight, the battle of what's going on, you don't want it to end like this. And I thought him encouraging Kuaidul to pick up the dual disc, where he's able to actually somehow fix his arm and put the dual disc back on, I thought it was a really powerful and interesting moment where Yudias kind of wants to serve it to him a little bit, but I think he wants to also learn more. And as a kind of a prideful warrior here, there is at least a tiny bit of respect in my mind to Kuaidul, even after all of the things that he has done. So those were very fascinating elements that happened in this episode. And and right now, of course, we're in a very unfortunate situation here. We think we turn the tide, as we always do, and at the end of the episode, once again, the Transimus come back. I think it was Gohai Yuna points out that a galaxy kind of activates this illuminating light on Kuaidul's chest, and then a couple seconds later, Yudias looks over, and he has one as well. Two galaxies, both kind of a pink, reddish hue of Kuaidul and a light blue of Yudias, come out to the forefront. What does this mean? The next episode is titled One Galaxy. Could there be a possible hint at merging here of Kuaidul maybe possibly perishing in front of us here in the arc finale? So many interesting elements, guys, to talk about. I thought it was a fantastic episode. Really have been building these last couple episodes for me, saving the arc. And I'm very fascinated to see now that we're getting an extra year where we go in this show for Go Rush. But guys, let me know what you thought of the episode down below. I would love to hear your thoughts here, of course, of Go Rush episode 89. Dylan, I would imagine, will be back either next week or sometime in the near future whenever his throat is feeling better for these episode reviews. But I hope as a guest host, I was sufficient enough for you, and I would love to talk to you guys in the comments below. Of course, there's always things going on here on the channel, on Yugioh Everything. There are streams. We have a podcast for Go Rush if you're interested, usually on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to talk more about this episode or episodes in the future, please come by, check out. We would love to keep growing the community as Go Rush is hopefully picking up more fans now that it is entering another year as well, guys. But I'll get out of here. Like the video, do all of that stuff. I'll talk to you later. Cue the Nick T music, and I hope you have an amazing day.